Howdy, howdy. Testing. I think we are looking pretty good today. Hi, this is Christian Blaney's Corner, a talk radio show. Sorry if you really liked that song. We did have to start the show a little bit late, but this is a show where I just get to kind of talk to whoever I want. And today, I'm lucky enough to have my guest, Boone Steele, on, who is a really close friend of mine. And a really interesting guy to talk to. He's really funny. Been one of my funniest friends since since like high school, in my opinion. So
don't hype me up too much.
Yeah, no. I'm being careful about that. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man. Let me see if I can adjust this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. They really let you talk to whoever you want.
Pretty much. I mean, as long as they'll be on, which when you're starting at a radio show, that might be the hard part. But
that's way too much power.
Way too much, for sure. Do you want to back up that webcam, see if we can get like a better angle there?
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, I'll have this on YouTube also, and I haven't quite set up everything for that. So, I guess in future episodes we'll get that running and we'll figure out how to do that, I guess, effectively and quickly. But
Gotcha.
So. Boone, I actually pitched him the idea of coming on yesterday, super short notice, but he was cool to come on. And that's weird that screensaver's dimming. That's making me nervous. It's all right. We'll fix that at some point. If that webcam goes out, it's no problem. We'll just have it better for next time. But so I pitched him the idea of coming on the show yesterday, super short notice. Super glad that he was able to be on in short notice. But he said that he wanted to talk about how we can make America better, and just I guess pitch me an idea, right. Boone. Let me know what you mean by that.
No, this is not some of the traditional ways people have suggested to make America better. This isn't like a policy thing. This isn't like anything that has to do with the government. This is just like what people can personally do. I think that'll enhance America as a whole, culturally and spiritually. So these ideas may be a bit out there, but from what I've seen, it's some stuff that we need.
Well, based off of the small amount that you pitched me, I'm pretty excited to hear what you got to say.
Okay, so the first one is castles. America does not have enough castles, and we absolutely need more.
Okay.
So this one does have a bit of like a deeper thing about it. It's not as lighthearted. If you go to like the Middle East, you go to Israel, you go to Greece, you go to Italy, you go to any of these like Mediterranean areas where America was really getting going. You know, there you have some of the oldest buildings in the world. The buildings are crazy old, and there's a clear connection that they have to the land, right? Because that land has like been in their family for generations, or it's been through some real turmoil. I went to Israel. We both went to Israel and Greece.
Yeah.
So we've been there and we've seen how, like.
Well, we've been in a castle too.
Yeah.
In Israel, that was probably the best. It was like raining. We are sprinting through the castle. We were having a great time. Super sick. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just made me appreciate how connected they were to the land. I don't know if they felt that individually, but I saw that there was that possibility. Now in America, the Native Americans who were here before us, they had not so much as like a building connection to the land, like they didn't use the land, but they had an exceptional amount of spiritual connection and reverence for the land.
Well, they definitely used the land, but just in a different way than maybe like European cultures would.
There weren't a ton of like permanent building structures.
Yeah,
but that's because this chief in the Pacific Northwest, he wrote a letter to the president, like I think it was Franklin Pierce at that point, and he was telling him like, how can you buy the land? Every single aspect of the land, every pine needle, every fish, every squirrel, it's all sacred to my people.
So you can't build the land. He's saying it's more than that.
You can't own the land.
Oh, you can't own the land. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe not even build it. Definitely can't own it.
You definitely can't build it. Have you seen everyone try to like build a tree? Like legitimately?
Yeah, no, that it just builds itself.
Yeah.
And so I think when we lost that with the several genocides, I think that we lost the connection to the land in America. Now, I'm not sure if other people feel like this, but I have always felt like that was missing, a connection to the land itself. And so I think the best way to do that would be to build castles. Okay. Now, I don't know if this is something like I dreamed or like imagined one day, or this is like a real thing that happened.
Sure.
I can't tell when, like, between my memories as a kid and my dreams now, they feel the exact same.
It's okay. Facts are underrated. That's all I got to say.
But there was this guy who lost his son. And as a source of coping with that grief, he started building this castle. And it was this crazy, beautiful, like, non-traditional castle. He was using, like, recycled materials. He was building these crazy, weird shapes. It was just like if you wanted to put a bridge here to a tower, he did, even if it wasn't, like, strategically necessary.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's what we need.
He's just doing what he wanted to do because it made him happy, or because that's how he coped?
And that's how he coped.
Okay.
I think it also made him happy, but it was like a monument to the son that he lost.
Sure.
And I think that having things like that, permanent buildings that like signify and represent human emotion, and putting it physically into the world, connecting us to the land with these buildings, I think is one way that we can, like, establish a reverence for the land and respect for, like, the place and setting that we grow up in.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. I understand for sure. One thing that just comes to mind, because I can hear, like, every like 60-year-old that's, like, super, like, logical and, like, thinking of finances, who's going to be building it, or is that something that might need to be a movement started? What do you think when it comes to that kind of thing?
Ideally, we get to the point where the average person has more money in their pocket.
Sure.
Probably, if that's going to be through GameStop, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Do not sell if you have GameStop stock.
It's going up, baby.
It's going to go up.
It's going up.
You that.
Have you been following that closely?
Yeah, very closely.
Do you want to explain to the audience that might not know what's going on?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is probably one of my most favorite pieces of news I think I've ever heard in my entire life.
Okay.
Right up there with Osama bin Laden getting shot back in 2008.
Oh, boy.
Or 2009.
Were you just hyped up as an 8-year-old to hear that?
I was so hyped.
Dang.
I was like, we got him, yeah! Before I understood anything that was happening.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine you would.
It's like, I thought, okay, real quick, I thought Osama bin Laden was one of the people flying the plane, and he was, like, the only person to survive.
Wow.
And he also made it out.
That would be
like,
impressive.
We got to get it, man.
That'd be really impressive.
That'd be really impressive.
Yeah, there is something about that, though. Just, like, if you just hear, oh, the bad guy is gone. That's a good thing.
That's good thing.
That's only a good thing. It's not a loss of human life. It's nothing like that. It's just a bad guy going away.
Dude, I was waiting for us to, like, employ Batman. Like, I was wondering when Batman was going to take him down.
Yeah, we would have been on that a lot sooner, I think, if that was an option.
Oh, my God. That would have been sick.
Yeah, for sure. But go ahead, yeah.
So, GameStop.
What is GameStop, first of all?
GameStop is a brick-and-mortar game realtor company. Mm-hmm. They buy and sell physical copies of games. And because of the...
You want to hand me that? I'm talking about the webcam. The screen to my computer keeps on going dim, and I just don't want it to fall asleep on us. So, sorry, go ahead, Ben. I'll just work on this really quickly.
So, digital game services like Steam, PlayStation Store, whatever Xbox does, where you buy the games online, which much more convenient. They have been, of course, doing a lot better than GameStop has. So the stock has been going down, understandably. Now, stocks are not actually that great of an indicator of
how a company's doing?
How well a company's doing, because they can be manipulated so easily.
Yeah.
So you have a bunch of hedge fund people, like people who own all the stocks, big money men, like they're already millionaires. They're looking to buy a second helicopter to take them to their boat, to take them to their yacht,
Sure.
It's all just like a, like a.
Those are the people trying to manipulate the market?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, they're just like getting money as like a measuring contest.
They've been doing that for a while too.
Yeah. So they have been betting that the stock will go down. And what you have to do is that's called short selling the market. When you short sell it, you borrow a stock from someone and then you promise that you are going to give them that stock back at a certain time. So you want to get the stock from them when it's really expensive, wait for it to go down. That's when you buy it back up and give it back to them. So it's like if you had a banana and bananas cost $1, I'm like, hey, Christian, can I borrow your banana? And you're like, yes, fine. And so I take your banana. And like 2 days later, the price of bananas goes down to 50 cents.
Okay.
And I sold your banana at $1, and I buy bananas back at 50 cents.
Sure.
And I give one back to you. I've made 50 cents.
I see that. Yeah, I know what you mean there.
Yeah. There's sense. Like interest involved a little bit.
I think there's another like thing that you could work with when it comes to bananas that was coming to mind. This is where I thought you were going. I thought you were saying, hey, here's the banana and it's gonna turn brown. But maybe it was like a universe where bananas were in reverse. I don't know. My understanding of both bananas and stocks is very limited.
Yeah, it could be an apple. It could be whatever.
Could be
an
apple. Okay.
It could be a Voltron action figure. So
excellent.
You want, when you're short selling the market, you want the stock to go down.
Sure.
Basically, the only thing you need to know.
So you're betting that the economy gets worse, or is it not an indicator of that?
No, just that singular stock.
One stock in general.
So if you're like, oh my gosh, GameStop is getting killed by these online markets, I'm going to bet that their stock keeps going down.
Sure.
So I can make some money.
Sure.
And so they did that, but they did that excessively and through like weird market tactics. So like if I borrowed a banana from you and then George borrowed that same banana from me, there's now only one banana, but two people are owed a banana.
Okay.
So he's going to give that banana back to me, and I'm going to give that banana back to you. But the market sees that as there is one banana, and two people are owed a banana, which
two
is
people are own a banana. What did you say?
Are owed.
Owed a banana.
Owed a banana.
I see.
Sorry.
Okay. Now, is that because the stock is split in half, or is that
it's not split in half. It's just like two people need to get a banana back, but there's only one banana.
Because promises have been made.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so through it still doesn't make that much sense to me, but through these like weird tactics, you have 140% of the stock like being short sold.
Yeah. Even
though like only 100, like mathematically it should be 100% of the stock can be short sold, but it's 140%. So it's a lot of market nonsense going on there.
Yeah.
And so you have all these rich people that are short selling it into like the absolute ground just to make their money. Like it was down at like 16.
So, sorry, when you short sell something, do you just like say like this is what's going to happen? Do you just tell people, or do you put it into a system, or?
Yeah, well, you put it into like
into Charles Schwab or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, like it's a Wall Street thing.
Wall Street thing.
Yeah,
sure.
So they were all like betting that it was going to go down. They were all short selling it, and this guy on Reddit noticed that they were like excessively short selling it. He's like, GameStop is not actually worth this little. Like the stock is going to go up.
Do you have to be in like the system to know who's short selling what, or is that like public information?
It's public information.
Okay, cool. That's just tracking stocks?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So he saw this because he was crunching the numbers. You know, he was running it. There's like millions of GameStop stock, and he was just like looking through all of them like an absolute Chad. And he notices this, and he's like, okay, I'm going to buy a bunch of GameStop stock. And he posts that to Reddit, r/Wall Street Bets. Normally a subreddit of absolute degeneracy. I have seen people go on there. I was interested in Wall Street Bets before this.
Sure.
I
was too. I went through a short period of this. I asked you a lot of these questions to, one, refresh myself, and just like if anyone in the audience doesn't know what's going on, I feel like it's fair to give them context.
Yeah. Wall Street Bets was formerly just gambling. You know, people would like win like $100,000, invest all of it, and then lose it.
Yeah,
Like
they were
these-
infamous for that.
These people,
There were a lot of like memes and like
Yeah.
funny YouTube videos about that I would watch.
these
back in the
people are
day.
nuts. I'd definitely go check some of that out if you
Yeah.
want to see like business majors fail. But,
Yeah, straight up. What
Um,
was like the biggest amount that you've seen lost on there? Because I remember it was like an impossible number that I saw lost on Wall Street Bets. I just forget what it was.
Oh my god. I think the most I saw was this guy. He like won big twice,
Yeah.
and he invested like almost 500K and lost like all but 50,000 of that. Like, yeah.
That's a tough one, man.
The craziest thing I saw was someone from Colombia was trying to short sell Venezuela.
The country, Venezuela?
Yeah. He was like
What do you-
trying to figure out how he can short sell a country.
Okay.
So-
How'd that go?
I don't know, but it
Okay.
was, I don't think you could do that.
Yeah, I don't think like a country is on the market.
Yeah. He
But
was-
isn't like every business in China connected to the party? Isn't that just how it works?
They
In
might
that-
be connected to the party. It's a lot more capitalistic than communist over in China.
Really? Okay,
Really, really,
gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, you
I
have,
know they have like an authoritarian government, and
Yeah.
it's pretty suppressive in general.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, they do have to work off of like a world economic kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
in a way, yes.
Gotcha.
I mean, there are Chinese billionaires, so
Yeah.
that's indication enough that it's capitalist
Sure.
through and through.
Sure.
But yeah, so these people on Reddit notice it, and then everyone was like, okay, the due date for when they have to like give the stocks back, when they have
Mhm.
to buy the stocks back, is in January. So the price is going to go back up. So some people, either to get money or to screw over the hedge fund people, they buy like an absolute massive amount of GameStop stock. It goes up like 5,000%
Yeah.
in value.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
The night that was like popping off, I think Chris Strong, I'm not going to say how much money he made, but he made some money off of it because he
Yeah.
bought it at the right time. And one of my good friends, Landon,
Mhm.
he comes over to my door and says, "Dude, you need to buy GameStop stock right now."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's going on, dude?" And he's like, "Chris Strong just made blank amount of money, and like everyone's talking about it, and it's going through the roof." And I'm like, "That sounds dangerous. I don't know about that one, coach." But I guess in the end, like people did make a lot of money.
People made a lot of
And
money.
I think hedge fund. Could you explain what a hedge fund is like a little better? Is it just
Yeah.
people that are really good at stocks trying to make money with it?
Yeah, so
Just a
it's
collection of
basically
people.
like a bunch of people all pooling their money together, and you get like a couple of people who's their job to manage it,
Mhm.
and they get a super diversified portfolio, right?
Yeah.
Normally, that's what I was led to believe when I was told about hedge funds. But it
Yeah.
seems like they are putting a lot of eggs in their basket. They're like trying to find the best way to make money. So that's short selling a lot of companies. And so when GameStop stock goes from like literally like $8 to back up to 400,
Mhm.
like they lost billions. I
Dang.
think it was like $5 billion was lost in like a
Jeez.
day.
Wow.
hedge fund people,
For
so
hedge fund
yeah.
people?
Yeah.
But that means $5 billion in the pocket of my boys. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
When they said the revolution wouldn't be televised,
Yeah, true. That is true.
I don't think they
Revolution
knew
would
what
be
that meant.
televised.
So this has been absolutely insane, and it's so amazing for me to like see after like a whole life of being told like rich people do whatever they want. They
Mhm.
have the money, they make the rules, they don't have to abide by any of them. Because the fines that you have to pay for committing some like some crimes in the stock market are like ridiculously low.
What are some crimes and how much might you get
It's
like
like-
fined for?
Insider trading, I don't know everything about it, but I know that like they are willing to manipulate the stock market in legal and illegal ways because they are not worried about going to jail.
Gotcha.
So they can kind of do whatever they
So
want.
it's rare for them to go to jail. It's just, is it a way for like the justice system to make some money off of it, or what's the deal? Are they lobbying
guess.
to politicians to like?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
lobbying for sure.
Gotcha.
So like the 2008 economic crash, that was the housing market.
Yeah.
just absolutely collapsed because they were doing illegal things. It was like explicitly illegal, absolutely immoral. And so millions of people lose their jobs, lose their houses. I know my family like lost a ton of money that we had, and you have no one go to jail except for one guy. And that was like
one guy?
One guy went to jail.
Was it just the head of what was it called?
No, he wasn't even the head of anything.
Okay, then what was his role, do you know?
I think he went to jail mostly because he wasn't like cooperating with everyone as well as it could have been. I probably should have.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, like, it's honestly on radio shows, it's impossible to have all the information in front of you.
Yeah.
But no, I get what you mean. Maybe we can talk about another point.
Yeah, only one guy gets, what should I say? He gets repercussions for what he's done, and he didn't even do anything that bad. So, you know that the game is like absolutely rigged, and it's not going to change until you have a bunch of like people mobilizing through the internet to buy a bunch of stock that will increase in value. And what they're doing right now is they are holding with like titanium hands.
Okay, because nothing's forcing them to sell, right? Like
Yeah.
legally, they can hold on to it.
Right. But all the hedge fund people, they want them to sell as much as possible so they can like make some money back. Because what they did is they short sold it and then the price went up and they're like, oh, this is just a random fluke. And so then they short sold it again. They got more stock.
Yeah.
And short sold that.
That makes sense.
And they kept on doing that progressively.
Well, that's the move. That just makes sense whenever you see that kind of thing.
Yeah. So they kept on doing it as it went up. And so they were short selling it at like 16. Then they were short sold it at like 80. Then they short sold it at 120. Then they short sold it at 160. And it kept on going up to like 450 at its like highest, or 478, I think, earlier. And so they're like losing a ton of money thinking that it was going to go down. And they like have all the news anchors telling people to sell. They have like, they're intentionally lying that like, oh, this hedge fund went out of business, or they just went to the market. Guys, look at this. You can sell now. So most people are holding on with titanium hands.
Sure.
It's a bit odd. I think some people who came into the game a little bit late are going to maybe lose some money. You're in danger of doing that. Yeah. People who jumped on like immediately, like they're good to go. But
so I have a question. I know it's really fun to bash rich people and like generalize and stuff. I do it all the time. But so I know that a lot of hedge funds are losing a lot of money. But is there anyone from this just the situation that might be going hungry from this, or is being negatively affected in a big way? Or are these people that can already pay their bills, already own a helicopter, stuff like that? Or what's your idea of like the general population of the workers of a hedge fund? And are they negative affected, or do they get paid by the hour? Do you know what's going on in that section of things?
I'm sure there are some people that do like more micromanaging stuff that get paid by the hour, but the people who are like, who it's their money being invested in the hedge fund that are losing it. I've heard several times you shouldn't put any money into the stock market that you're not comfortable with losing.
Sure.
So if they are doing that and they're putting more stuff
they're losing at their own game
on the line,
okay.
I think that's a risk that they should have been acknowledging. Something like this is totally unprecedented.
Well, that makes sense to me. That just sounds like breaking a commandment. Like you got this game that you're playing.
Yeah.
And if you're not abiding by it and you're telling everyone else to, then you know.
So I really don't think any of them are going hungry. I hesitate to feel bad for them just because they are finally getting a taste of their own medicine.
Okay.
In a lot of ways, you know.
Sure.
Like they've been manipulating the stocks for decades and have seen no backlash. And the first time when, you know, average people, your Joe Schmo type fellow, is making money off the stock market in the way that he has been told to his whole life, you know, because a lot of these people are like, oh, invest in the stock market, you know, it's a free market.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you can get rich. It's the American dream. When these people get money, all of a sudden now we have to, like, the rich people are like, oh, this is so terrible. Like, we need to ban social media sites from talking about stocks.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, because I knew them as or hedge funds as groups of people that wanted to limit restrictions or what's the word I was looking for? I think it starts with an L. But
deregulation.
Yeah, regulation. There it is. Thank you. You actually just took it out of my head. That's like the best feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like when something just comes around. Yeah, they're all about deregulation, and I was listening to. I think I was actually listening to the news. That's something that I do rarely because it like just bothers me so much.
Yeah.
But they were pushing for regulation, which was just uncharacteristic. But it was just because it was in their favor, and it felt a little slimy to me.
Oh yeah.
Like from maybe a moral or ethical standpoint, not sticking to your guns just because it's not benefiting you at this time. Yeah. So is that what you're feeling right now?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
big time. I think it's absolutely insane.
Sure.
Like I was getting kind of mad when I saw that when they were like asking for regulation and they wanted like the better policing of the stock market, which I'm down for. I want better regulations on the stock market.
Yeah.
I don't want people to be able to short sell 140% of the stock. I don't want people to manipulate the stock so they can just get their own, like they can do whatever they want with it for their own money, for their own interests.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there needs to be better regulations. But when you're only putting regulations on average people, that's when I have a problem with it.
Are you saying like those are the only people that can really be messed with?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Those, yeah, because like it's no longer a free market. I mean, I already don't think that it's that free of a market anyway because it's...
Meaning the stock market or general Western market in general?
Mostly the stock market.
Okay, yeah.
Because like if you were born into a rich family, you have every single advantage. Like 60% of all rich people like inherited their wealth or something like that. And I think
60. I think it'd be higher, really. So
I think it would be too.
I guess that says something.
It might
maybe.
be 60% of wealth is inherited.
Well,
Would it make more
something
sense?
that I did hear once is that while like poverty is the number one thing to like motivate further poverty, it's also the number one thing to motivate being rich. That's something that I've heard once. I don't know the truth behind that, but from a logical standpoint, it makes sense because certain personality types are especially driven, and especially if they've seen like or if they've seen a life of poverty and don't want to be there, they might be driven to get away from that kind of deal.
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't call that being rich though. I think making it out of like extremely impoverished situations.
Yeah, bad terminology on my part.
Yeah. Well, no. I think you're on the right track. I don't think those people are like looking to be the mega wealthy, the ultra wealthy. I think those people just want to build like a better life for themselves. Again, I don't really know, but this is what I'm assuming because you look at the people that are ultra wealthy and a lot of them came from like they either inherited wealth, like the Walmart family or Elon Musk, they inherited a lot of their wealth and they just like flipped that and they're like continuing that, or they came from like middle class or like upper middle class situations, like Jeff Bezos. I know like he inherited some money, but it wasn't a ton.
It wasn't enough to make him where he is right now.
Yeah,
like regularly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'd like to see the stats on that. Actually, I want to see like what kind of tax brackets, which is another funky subject.
That'd be interesting.
Like what kind of tax brackets people were coming from growing up. That's hard data to collect though, because people are pretty like shielded about how much money they make. Frequently, right?
Which I think is odd.
I also think it's kind of odd.
The more I've seen about it, the more I think that that's like a huge area where like the gender gap, gender wage gap comes into play because people don't talk about their paychecks.
Yeah, it's hard to get like real answers on like why something might be happening when you don't have all the information.
It's like two people do the same job, but if a company thinks that it can pay someone more or pay someone less money, they're going to do it. So a lot of it comes to like that initial when you're interviewing for the job and you're like negotiating price or when you go and
some
ask
companies
for a
might do
raise.
it. Some like a lot of companies I know like personally are like pretty good about that, but especially when companies get bigger and bigger and what is it called? Diffusion of responsibility like gets more and more. Yeah. What does the word antiquated mean? because I feel like that was the time to use the word antiquated, but I could be completely off.
I
Do you
think
know?
like an antiquated system of thinking is like more in the past. We should probably just like
dang.
look it up.
I really felt like that was the time to use the word antiquated
It's
and
such a good
sound
word.
really smart.
I have to close all my tabs about the stock market. Antiquated, old-fashioned, or outdated.
Okay, dang.
Yeah, so maybe not, but
Maybe another time.
we'll look for another use of it.
Absolutely. So just so we don't, I guess, burn the audience out on the stock market, another thing that or that you wanted to bring up that I thought would be an interesting thing to push on the same subject of how do we make America better, is we need to get more urban legends or folklore.
Yes.
Tell me about this, buddy.
All right. So I don't know if it's just my personal circumstance, but there were very few growing up, but I saw them all the time in movies.
Yes.
I like didn't hear a ton of urban legends. So this is something I'm personally going to be doing. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I think
it's a good idea.
I think it's worthwhile.
I think any creative endeavor, like, as long as it's not like gonna hurt someone else, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea.
I'm not talking about like those urban legends that like this kid was like beaten by his parents and then chopped up and put in the walls and now he haunts.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff.
You're talking about like the Jersey Devil
yeah,
or like the Mothman.
a lot of the ones I heard were like very murder oriented.
Sure, we don't want the murder.
No.
We want the Mothman.
See, because I'm living in Alton. Alton is one of the most haunted towns in America.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I know my house is haunted, but it is like it is a
100% haunted. Okay.
It is a very casual, like benevolent, chill haunting.
Okay. I like that. I feel
yeah.
like that can be like a little companion or something. It's like a dog, maybe a little more advanced. Would you count ghosts
Yeah.
more advanced than dogs? Because they used to be people, but not all of them is there. You know what I mean?
Right. I would say it's more of a cat. You know,
More of a
'cause
cat.
It is
That's
like
fair.
I like have these weird like interactions with the supernatural very infrequently, and when I do, they're like. I never feel like I'm in danger. It feels like a cat is just like moving to a different room, which it very well could be. It could just be my own cats.
Yeah.
I don't think it is because I'll like go up and check where my cats are, and they're both like asleep in their various areas of the house. They don't ever go into each other's territory.
Sure.
But I think that if you were to introduce some more like casual, nice urban legends, I think that as kids grow up, they're gonna have like a better sense of like mysticism and like they're gonna be more involved interested in the community that they grow up in.
Now, something to be careful with when it comes to urban legends
Okay.
is that one of them is going to be way better than the others.
That's true.
For example, Bigfoot.
Yes.
Now, there's some scientific evidence that might say, because for some reason, like, there's a big, hairy, like, Yeti type deal in pretty much every continent, right?
Yeah.
Like east of Asia, there's pretty much like...
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. In almost every culture, there's something resembling Bigfoot, which I think is super, super crazy. But there's some scientific evidence saying that there was a very, very large primate living around China. And I think it was called Gigantopithecus. And, it was just this prehistoric gigantic ape. And some people speculate that one way or another, maybe the same way humans made it across the ice bridge, they made it into the U.S. and stuff like that. But, I mean, in Asian cultures, there's things that resemble Bigfoot. What's crazy to me, though, or not crazy, what keeps me from fully believing in Bigfoot, though, is that, one, a lot of people that believe in Bigfoot are crazy. And two, you would think that we would have found good evidence at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, most Bigfoot pictures or videos are, like, super shaky. It's like, dude, that's in a gorilla that's a dude in a gorilla costume, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's something to be careful with when it comes to urban legends. How do you think we could make a diverse enough kind of situation in order to make America better?
Well, are you talking about like believability? Like how can
believability? Sure.
Is that like an important aspect of it?
I think so, as long as you can believe it up until you are actually, let's say 13 with your friends, 18 alone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because when you're walking down a completely empty road in the middle of nowhere, you're like, I'm going to get killed by Bigfoot. This is just going to happen. You're much more likely to believe it when you're on your own. But when you're 13 and your friends, you're still going to mess around and be like, dude, I think I just saw Bigfoot or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think now I never think that. I more think like, how am I going to defend myself against a cougar?
Right.
Think more like reasonable kind of situations.
Yeah. Walking down downtown Alton. It's like,
walking down.
cougar.
Yo,
so many old rich women. It's crazy. I'm so scared all the time.
That's actually really funny.
I'm just on the phone with Kaylee anytime I'm walking.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Kaylee's his girlfriend, by the way, everyone.
So I think with urban legends, I was thinking they may not be like these mystical figures, but they could be sort of an allegory, a way for kids to understand how certain mental illnesses work without needing to go into like the heavy detail of explaining just what they are and how they work and like the intricacies of them.
Okay.
So instead of like, you're like, this 7-year-old child, hello, I have depression. That's why I'm not able to get out of bed. But it's like, you can refer to like the bed ghoul that like grabs you and like sucks your life force.
Yeah.
And like makes you stay in bed sometimes.
I think John Hopkins, because they're doing some pretty interesting research when it comes to formerly illegal compounds or substances. Like, for example, using mushrooms or psychoactive mushrooms to treat PTSD. For example, I think they should put some research into developing a very believable boogeyman.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that. I like that.
I think when you like help kids understand that anxiety and certain, I'm sorry, why am I blanking on it? But like, if you tell kids like anxiety is like a goblin that lives in your brain, I think that's going to help them understand it a lot more. And it's going to like make it more tangible for them to grasp onto.
Yeah. And yeah, you could also normalize it as well, right? It's not just a goblin that lives in your brain. It lives in a lot of people's brains.
A lot of people have a brain goblin.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can call all these like goblins or ghouls or something, you can call them like different things. And you can be able to, you can easily describe to kids how they work. And so that way, if one of your kids does grow up and ends up like needing to treat one of these issues, they already have the tools necessary to describe what they're going through.
Yeah.
Because they've been like taught about it since they were kids.
You know, something that I saw was interesting the other day? There's a YouTube channel called Softway Underbelly, I think it's called. And I think it's just focusing on Americans, but it's people that are in either bad situations or are on the wrong side of the law, or they might just not have another platform to speak about what's going on in their life. And so there was an episode of a family in their interviews. There's an interview with a family in, I want to say like Virginia or West Virginia, but they come from a extremely rural culture where I think the parents were, or I think all the kids were inbred. And so there were obviously some mental issues going on with the kids. So one of the
imagine.
Yeah, right. And so one of the guys was he wasn't able to speak properly, but he could bark like a dog. And so he was always hanging around with this dog. And so like I came to the conclusion like he probably learned to speak from a dog, but he could understand English just fine. Like, for example, when the interviewer was at the family's house, the interviewer said, like, oh, so I know that your brother blank died since I've been here last. How is he, how are you all doing and everything? And so the guy put two and two together, and it's like, oh, my brother. He wants to know about my brother. And so he walks outside away from the, area where he was interviewing, and he led him to this pile of dirt that was a freshly covered grave. It was like, wow, okay, so even though he can't communicate at all, he can bark like a dog and he can point. He still totally understands what's going on. And so that recently, like, I've had a pretty not insensitive view towards animals, but I'm team human. You know what I mean? Like, I eat meat. That's like I eat meat. I love dogs and cats and everything. Big cat guy, but I'm team human. But I think my perspective after watching that video actually changed a little bit, because it's like they actually understand a little more than we think. And this is just I'm equating a dog to a person, but I see the similarity. I see a lot of similarities because dogs are social animals. Same thing with dolphins. I see a ton of that. Walruses are similar. Yeah. There's one guy that's really trying to rescue his baby walrus pretty much from a pretty oppressive Canadian water park. I forget his name, but you can look him up for sure. Just look up walrus guy and you'll find it.
I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to keep walruses in
I don't think you are anymore.
Okay, good.
At least in Canada. In Canada, you are not anymore. You also aren't allowed to have dolphins or other like porpoise-like creatures like orcas. I'm not sure what the legislation is in the U.S., but there's definitely some pushes because of this one guy and his experience. Yeah. He's constantly fighting lawsuits and he's constantly speaking out about this issue.
I love that.
But you gotta honor that. It's really important to make sacrifices for things that you believe. I think that's what gives people a lot of purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah, just going back to like the original point was like you have, you like a lot of children like need the tools to be able to like communicate and talk about what's going on. Like the kid that you're talking about who like barks like a dog, he was like able.
It was a dude. It was a fully grown man.
Oh,
he was probably 40.
Fully grown
but
man.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But like when people are kids, they understand a lot of what's going on, but they can't like describe it. Like in every single detective show, I know that there's like a scene where like a kid saw something happen, but now they're traumatized and they can't talk about it, so they have to color it out.
Gotcha.
And so they make like these they make these drawings out of crayon that like help the detective find the culprit, gives them the clue that they need. And so kids don't have a lot of ways to like talk about issues, especially if they're really hard to talk about. So equipping them with some like easy to use vocabulary could really benefit them. And I'm not talking about just like 8-year-olds either. Like this is like I was struggling describing how to communicate what I was feeling and why, like all throughout high school, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, so was my siblings. So was like pretty much everyone I know. There has been like a roadblock. And so if you give people ways to like colloquial universal terms, like, oh, I have goopy goblin brain. And like, oh, okay, he needs extra help like paying attention to things.
Sure. Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that because I'm personally of the opinion that kids are rapidly having to develop a better sense of the world. By the way, there's water behind you if you want to take a drink at all. But kids are having to figure out how to understand a lot more complex issues.
Yeah.
Earlier and earlier.
Yes.
I think most of it has to do with the spread of technology and media. But yeah, so I feel like we're going into a weird generation where currently kids are in between really, really smart and able to understand complex concepts and not able to maybe talk about them or go deeper into why they may be helpful.
Yeah.
Like a 3-year-old can probably operate an iPad better than my mom, for example. Yeah. Not saying, Mom, you're great with an iPad. This is just an example, because I know a lot of people like in between the age of like 40 and 70 that are like have some issues with technology at some point. My 95-year-old grandfather, by the way, is fantastic at learning how to use the computer.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I teach him every once in a while, and he impresses me every single time I go over. Yeah.
If I can just get my grandparents to figure out how to open their email on their own, that is a huge win. They get so excited. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah, but I think that in a large way, like mental health has been significantly destigmatized.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
You know, at least among our generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like giving people and people after us the tools to be able to talk about it, if a way to do that is through urban legends, I am more than okay with
100%.
I think that's a great way, because I also really like the idea of urban legends tying people to like the community that they grew up in. It gives like a cultural, and it provides like a huge cultural impact.
Yeah.
A sense of togetherness, and it like.
And it's not one of those things that's going to promote nationalism. It's really cool. It strengthens your community.
Right.
And it doesn't make you feel better than anyone else.
Right. Right. It's like the ideal form of like being, I guess I hesitate to say proud, but like enjoying where you come from and the community that you grow up in.
It's important.
I think we need a lot more community adhesiveness in a lot of ways, because it feels like I love technology, but I feel like pretty distant from any community I grew up in, just because as a kid, like of course I'm going to play Minecraft when I'm 8 years old. I have goopy goblin brain.
True. That's just how it goes. Goopy goblin brain's a tough one.
Yeah. So I think any way you can promote people and like make them feel like they have a sense of community in the real world and like give them something to rely on, something to fall back on, I think is absolutely worth it.
Yeah. Would you say that regional accents are slowly going away?
Yeah.
Me too.
It's really
'Cause
sad.
you're mostly hearing, like, the majority of what kids are hearing is people on YouTube.
Yeah.
A good friend of ours has some very young family members, and they listen to way too much YouTube, and it's like the kind of YouTube where there's super bright colors, the guy's talking really fast and loud, it's really stimulating, and I can't see how it's like a good thing for development. Like, I played a little too much, like, Game Boy or DS when I was a kid. And not to say that my parents didn't try to regulate that. They absolutely did. I actually came up with some, like, mechanisms to see if I could figure out how to get more time playing my DS. Like, Mom, can I please play with my capital D, capital S? And it's like, you already played your DS today. It's like, no, but I didn't play my capital D, capital S today.
Really getting into semantics.
Yeah, really getting in there. But but at least I was learning to read, like, because I was playing Pokemon. I was learning to understand, like, really complex words and addition and subtraction, multiplication, stuff like that. But I'm not someone with social media.
Yeah.
And part of it is because I want people to talk to each other more, and I don't see a lot of the younger generation talking to each other as much as they could be without constantly being connected to a device. That's not my only beef with social media, but I think it's important to think about.
Well, childhood development is really, really tricky. There's a lot that can go right or wrong, and it's very difficult to successfully predict what something will do. I mean, there's research about it, but...
You're an education major, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I haven't focused as much on early childhood development as I would like to. I think it's really interesting. But
yeah. Oh, really quick, everyone, just so you know, if you came in like halfway through the show, I'm talking with Boone Steele right now. My name's Christian Blaney. I just have a radio show on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's just about me talking to my good friends. So, sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
All good. Definitely would love to see more research on it, but everyone's brain is different. Everyone's going to interact and react to things differently. Like, you have two identical twins. Their brains are different. They are going to be different people.
Sure.
So it's tough to see what environmental factors, what, like, traits are heritable, what traits get, like, passed on genetically, what traits are, like, you learn from your circumstances, basically nature versus nurture.
Sure.
And it's always kind of like a little bit muddy. The water's not super crystal clear on.
It's also something that people take
factors.
personally.
Yeah.
So, for example, like if your kid maybe doesn't or makes some bad decisions, a lot of people blame you as the parent for doing that. For example, this is not a tight example, so I'm not like going to out anyone. But I had a really good friend in high school, and him and I were roommates. And he had a younger brother, and so he just didn't think that his brother was having interests that were like academically focused and stuff like that. And so I just casually asked the question like, hey, do you think like the way your parents might have like changed like the way they raised you versus him like might have any effect? And he actually like jumped on me and hit me because he took it personally at that time. This is obviously high school, very emotional time. I forgive him. It's okay. But yeah, people take those kind of things personally.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why it might be hard to talk about it / do research on that. There's also so many variables.
Yeah.
You know?
It's something that definitely is easy to get like defensive about.
Sure.
It feels like a personal attack.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like it's tough to say right now what the effects of so much screen time are going to be because there's no long-term research really available right now.
John Hopkins, get on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We really need it.
Dude, I'm liking them right now. They're doing a lot
They're
of
good.
really experimental research.
They're so good.
They're so good.
Love
Man,
John
let me
Hopkins.
grab some water really quick.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something cool, but yeah. So a lot of screen time, I think, obviously, is not exceptional for development, but
Can be.
I think that it could also have some really good benefits. Only time will tell.
Sure.
I think I'd love for people to be interacting more, like you said, but
At the same time, kids,
is-
like as I said, kids are learning
Yeah.
things, like really complex things way earlier in life.
yeah.
So there is always a trade-off, maybe.
Yeah. At a certain point, like, I have gotten so used to, like, the way I've done things is that, like, if I were to switch to, like, interacting with people a ton more, like, I would probably, like, be either tired or, like, I would get more irritable, something like that.
Yeah. Well, it might just be a skill also. It might just take some time to build up to.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thing about that. And then the last thing was
Sure.
folk songs.
Folk songs.
Folk songs
Okay, I
was,
just want to let you know we have 5
Yeah.
under 10 minutes. We can go a
Yeah.
little over, but
This is
about
the-
5 minutes left in the radio show. So
Yeah,
go
that's
ahead,
fine.
Ben. Yeah.
The third way I wanted to like easily improve America that we can affect on like maybe a more personal level is folk music. I think that needs to make a comeback in a lot of ways, and I think it can do that by, like expanding what folk music is. Because I think all music that people make is representative of their values and their beliefs, which is a lot of what folk music is, not cult music.
Yeah. Cool
Um,
music.
But I think that like folk music, in the sense that it was like a way to like describe history, like a way to talk about like the more fantastical side. A lot of urban legends, you got
Yeah.
Paul Bunyan in there, you got his whole song.
Sure.
But I think that if you were to bring some of that stuff back and have like mainstream music have like more of a whimsical, fantastical side of it,
Yeah.
and it's like less real, I think that might help
Sure.
a little bit more.
Gotcha. So you think it should be silly? Yeah. What does folk music mean for you? Because sometimes when I think of folk music, I think of Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And so what do you
He-
see as folk music?
I think Bob Dylan definitely fits in that category. I have heard like a lot of songs that were talking about like American urban legends in the past, or they usually have like some kind of reference to history or like a certain reverence for certain aspects of like the place they grew up in. I think anything that like properly encapsulates a lot of people's idea of what it like means to have come from the community you've come from fits in
Sure.
that category. That's
Yeah.
a pretty broad definition, because a lot of rap is talking about the place you grew up from and like how the situation was tough and how you persevered and overcame that. And
But
that's
people
like,
wouldn't consider that folk music.
people wouldn't consider that folk music.
Yeah. What
I
are the
think-
what are the differences? Why is it separate?
I think because they put it under rap. I mean,
Rhythm and poetry.
yeah, people like kind of relegate it to like certain aspects because they're not, the songs are not super focused.
Yeah.
A lot of rap is not, it doesn't have that like laser precision on like this one story that I'm gonna tell. I think it's ridiculous to like say that rap should evolve to be like that, because it's clearly not, and it's clearly like found something that works for it. It like makes a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
I love listening to it. I don't know if I would be like asking for all rap to be like that. I'm just saying that I think if you were to have more songs that focused on like a more whimsical, less like real kind of thing, I think that would be a beneficial thing to have.
Do you know the song One Man Wrecking Machine?
I do not.
After the show, I'm gonna have to show you it, or I'm gonna have to like text it to you or something. But that might be actually under the category that you want. It's a song about I think a guy looking back on his high school times, that when he wasn't stressed out, when he was trying new things and learning about the world, and just figuring out how to be social.
Interesting.
And I love this song. I've done the song since high school. But yeah, I'll show you it soon, man.
That's dope.
Let's see. Okay, so it's 10:58. I guess we'll wrap it up soon. Boone, it's been really great to have you on the show. First episode of Christian Blaney's Corner, I think is what we're calling it. So if you look that up on YouTube, then maybe you'll find something along those lines. I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put this on YouTube in both video and audio form. And if there's other platforms that seems like there's like some kind of demand for it, I'm not expecting this to be like a huge thing, but yeah, if you find it easy to listen to it somewhere else, I'll see what I can do. All right.
Excellent.
Well, thanks so much, Boone.
Yeah,
And
thank you, man.
It's good to see you. Good to talk to you. I haven't seen you much this semester, man.
Oh, second
Unfortunate.
weekend.
Second
so
weekend, man.
We got time.
It's true. It's true. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. It's been a great podcast for me. By the way, in my opinion, podcast and radio are the same thing. I'll let you know why I think that maybe next episode. But all right. Well, I'll catch you guys later. Hang in there. Have a great day, and love to y'all.